Hello, my name's Gerald Morris. I'm a wildlife technician and GIS analyst with the Kensington Conservancy. We are a non-profit land trust based out of Desbarats, Ontario. That's along the north shore of Lake Huron, for those who aren't familiar. We're a registered charity, and our mandate is to protect the lands and waters in our area of concern for all generations to come. And we're applying under the Aviva Community Grant to create an outdoor education area that reflects the three major habitat types in our area: forest, wetland, and grassland. And I'm here at the proposed building site, and I'd just like to take you on a little walkthrough of it to show you what we're thinking and the capacity that it holds. So right now I'm standing at the Foster Parkland and walking trails. It's a 50-acre property donated to us some years ago, and it's one of our projects, or one of our properties, that's open to the public, and we've already spent a little time getting it ready for educational purposes. We've got a lot of signs like this throughout the property showing plant species and telling a little bit about them, how to identify them, that kind of thing. Those signs are for the most part along our trail system, which we have right here. We're right there right now. We've got a trail system heading up to the north to a scenic lookout, and one to the south to another lookout spot. And this here is the hayfield that we're standing in right now. Now those trails only go through the forest, and they deal mostly with forest plants. What we're thinking of out here is adding, first of all, a larger parking lot, putting down some gravel here so that we can fit about 12 to 15 vehicles in this spot here, just right there. And then also, you can see we've staked out an area here. This would be for a picnic structure with washrooms included. It's about 24 by 36 feet, I believe. Enough to fit 7 picnic tables, seating around 30 people. Now, around this area, we'd like to create a small pollinator garden. Nothing too big, just a few soil beds along here, planted with native species that our local insects and bees will like. Stuff like goldenrods, lots of spotted Joe Pye weed for butterflies, milkweed for monarch butterflies in particular. We get a lot of those around here. And we'd like to use most of this large field as kind of a grassland education area. This was previously a hayfield. It's been hayed up till now, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. That haying creates habitat for a lot of different kinds of birds. It keeps it in kind of a grassland state, as opposed to along the edge here where we have trees and ferns coming in that kind of push it into a later stage of succession. We'd like to let the field grow up a little bit, still keep it as kind of a meadow though, and past the pollinator gardens and the picnic area here, we'd like to include around 6 to 8 nesting boxes for tree swallows out here, a little farther away from the main path, which is right in here, that leads to our forest paths. And we'd like to have interpretive signage along the way in the pollinator garden, talking about the tree swallow nesting boxes, and also talking about the importance of fields to this area. When you think of Northern Ontario, you don't generally think about grasslands, but they're really a major part of the shoreline ecosystem here, because there's so much farming, so much pasturing, hay fields. That kind of thing creates a lot of habitat for especially bird species. Sandhill cranes, tundra swans, geese, mallard ducks, all of them congregate in the fields here, in the farm fields in the fall on their way back down south. Pastures in particular are good habitat for bobolink, meadowlark, barn swallow. We have all three of them here, and we see them all the time around pastures. The Pastures are good because they churn up mud, which barn swallows use to build their nests. The cattle churn up mud, that is. And the cattle also attract insects, which is vital for insectivores like bobolink, meadowlark, barn swallows, and every other kind of swallow. And we'd like to include some interpretive signage that talks about that kind of thing. Just along the main path here, we don't want anybody getting too close to our nesting boxes over here. We don't want to disturb the birds, but we want people to know about them, know what kind of services they provide to the environment, and why we'd like to protect them. Now, as I walk along here, I can tell you that this area over here, just past that little line, that's a little ditch there, a little drainage ditch for the fields across the street. We don't own those fields, so we don't have an influence on them. They do get hayed. Right past that ditch is where we're going to build a small frog pond. Now, the Foster property here, it's only about 50 acres, but it's one of the most diverse properties that the Kensington Conservancy manages. We've got upland forest, lowland forest, we've got a small stream running through it, but what we don't have is standing water, somewhere for amphibians to breed, which is unfortunate because we've recorded 8 different species of amphibians here. 3 salamanders, 5 frogs. And out of those, if we built a pond right in here, we think about 7 of them would probably breed in it. Everything except for maybe not the leopard frogs and maybe not the green frogs, but we'd get spring peepers, gray tree frogs, blue-spotted salamanders, American toads, wood frogs, all of them breeding right here. There's just no standing water within almost a kilometer of where we are here, but they do, like we see a lot of them in the field here. On particular in wetter years, and even this year, I could probably find one if I looked around, but there's a lot of leopard frogs that come in here to forage. There's a lot of green frogs, spring peepers all along the edge here. You can hear gray tree frogs in the spring a lot. Wood frogs are pretty much everywhere. And we decided to build a pond here because you might be able to see here, we already have some wetland species popping up. We've got rushes. We've got grasses more commonly associated with wetland. We've got speckled alder. And actually, we did a little bit of research into the area here. We did some augering. You can see, this is just from actually earlier today. We augered down to see what the substrate is like. It's nice clay substrate, so it will hold water really well. Yeah, you can really see all the little tussocks here of rushes. Really good indicators of a wet spot. And right here, actually, this was the first one we did. We hit the water table at about 2 feet down this hole here. So we know that this will hold water. We don't want to do anything too big, just about from that shrub there to this shrub here, and then around in a circle to connect the ditch so that it's got a source of water. And then this ditch turns into a small stream over there. And actually another promising feature is there's actually a spring that comes to the surface just about 30 meters in this way. So we're pretty confident that this pond will, one, work because it has so many features of, you know, a wetland. It's got all the plants. This is flooded a lot of the time, especially early in the spring. And part of what we'd like to do is add gravel to the trail here so that we don't have to maintain it as much. It's more sustainable. Because right now we have to cut the grass about 5 or 6 times a year. We're going to have to cut it again soon, actually. It's getting kind of long going into here. And then we'd gravel a path right up through here to the pond edge. We'd only have a small part of the pond edge accessible to people because we want that to be used. We want it to be used by frogs, by birds, by herons, by anything that's going to get in there and use that pond. Over by the spring over here, we set up game cameras there in the winter, and we noticed that it's the main watering hole in this little area here for larger animals like deer and coyotes. So we think that pond could really benefit the wildlife in the area. anyways, I'll just take you into the trails here to show you what we already have established at this property. Give you an idea of what the inside trails look like. We use these trails a lot, well, not so much this year, but in previous years we've used it a lot for tours. We take small groups in here, just 5 or 6 people. We've also taken a school or a class from the local high school up here a few times. We're hoping to expand on that relationship if we can get this grant and we can get that structure built, get a nice educational area built for them. We can have classes out here more often. And here you can see this is the hub of our trail system. Sign there telling where it came from, and more interpretive signage, just one for red maple. We got one sign going down that way, one sign going up this way, or one path going up that way. Alright, back out to the field. And back out of the forest. So we think this is a really good idea. We are a charity, so we don't generally, we rely on grants and donations for a lot of our funding and all of our projects. So we could really use this money to help make this property into a real educational paradise, really. And we think it's just a wonderful idea for the area because we don't have anything like this in our area. And when you're in southern Ontario, you see so many places with nice interpretive signage and, you know, pollinator gardens, stuff like that. Things that really extol the values of a natural area. And we just don't see that kind of funding a lot of the time this far north. So it would be really nice to get this and get this area built up a little bit. Enhance the habitat for swallows and amphibians and pollinators. It would just be incredible. So, anyways, I'll give you one last look at this area. Right here. There's a bear in the bush there. So I'm going to finish up. We really hope that you vote for us and you choose our idea and we can get a shot at the grand prize. Once again, this is Gerald Morris with the Kensington Conservancy. You can find us on Facebook. Our page is just the Kensington Conservancy. We also have a YouTube channel of the same name. So look us up there. You can see some of the things we've done in the past. And hopefully, this is one of the things we'll be able to look back at in the future and say that we made a big difference towards natural environment education in our community. Thank you. Bye.